Hello and welcome to Northwest Knitting. My name is Kathy and I'm coming to you from the Pacific Northwest in the state of Oregon. I hope you're having a wonderful summer. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much. Thank you to the subscribers. It really makes me happy when I see that you're interested enough to come back or receive notification. If you're new, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the program. It has been just glorious weather here. I know we're probably in for some super hot weather. By the end of the summer, it'll come our way, but right now it's been just lovely in the mid-80s, and it's beautiful, beautiful in the morning when we do our chores, we garden, maybe do some cooking that turns the oven on, and then by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I like to sit down with some knitting, and I'm so grateful that I can do that. So I might sit down with a podcast and enjoy seeing what other people are doing. I know it's super hot in Europe and other places right now, and I hope you're all surviving the heat. So I feel like I've been knitting and not getting anywhere. I've been enjoying it. I just don't have anything finished. I have a baby sweater that I need to find buttons for. I have my Trelawney top that I'm knitting on size 4 needles, and I'm in the stockinette period. That's taking me a long time. And I also have some socks on the needles that are a size 1 and moving. I am just not a fast sock knitter. So I'm enjoying it all, but it's going slowly. So I thought today I'd show you 2 tops that I made in 2021 and in 2020, both out of the same pattern. And maybe it'll give you an idea of some things that you might consider. So let's see, this one, it's the Derecho top by Alison Green, and it's a super simple, easy pattern. It's just clear and easy. This would be an excellent pattern to start. It has some interest in the yoke, so if you're intimidated by something like the ranunculus, for example, you might give this a try. I used a heavier weight yarn. I'm not sure. This yarn I used is Appalachian Baby, 100% organic cotton, and it says sport weight, but I got like 5 stitches to the inch. I don't know what that means to you, but it says machine wash. This is in the indigo color. Right now it looks very, very purple to me. I think it's more of a purple, but it's considered really good for baby sweaters because it says machine wash, but yeah, it's pretty soft once it's finished. I found it a little bit harder on my hands than some other types of things. Let me show you the yoke. It's just super simple with these eyelets all along here, and a little bit of ribbing there. I'm not ribbing, a little bit of some purl stitches. So simple, but really nice. It has some short rows in the back. And I'll show you, I changed the pattern on, this was the second one I made, and I changed the pattern to add a split hem, and that seems good. And I probably changed it to I probably changed the ribbing somewhat. I did a 3x1 rib, which I felt didn't pull in at all. So I like that. That's my favorite topic if you've been here before. So, yeah, I was pretty happy with the yarn. It's actually great to wear, but it's kind of heavy. It's 100% cotton, but it is a little on the heavy side, so I'm not going to be wearing it when it's 95 degrees. Actually, I won't want to wear anything when it's 95 degrees, and I'll be probably on my couch with the AC on. If I try not to run the AC, and I close up the house, and then I see if I can do without it. But if it's really super hot, like in the high 90s, then I'll turn on the AC by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it just takes it down a notch. Somebody on Ravelry said this shrinks in the dryer. I guess I wouldn't try that even, but you could. You could plan ahead and do a swatch and see, but it was a pretty dramatic shrinking, according to that person. So I would dry it flat, personally. I found that in terms of knitting with it, it was pretty loosely plied and a little bit splitty, but so I don't know how you feel about that. You can decide how you feel about that. I could see using it again, but I would like to try more linens, but locally for me, finding linen is not that easy, or linen blends. So I either have to go online or maybe head up to Portland and see what I can find. But I end up knitting some yarns just because they are available to me at my local yarn store. And I love my local yarn store. She just only can carry so much, and I think I want things that other people don't want. So that's what happens. But she has some beautiful fibers, and that's where I got this one. So I am going to pause this and try on my other sweater of the same pattern and show you what I used for that one. Okay, here is the second. This was actually my first version of the Derecho sweater by Alison Green. And this one I knit in Berroco Remix Light. So that is 100% recycled fiber. It was also available at my local yarn store and in a nice color. So I thought I'd give it a try. I liked that it was recycled. It's DK weight, 432 yards, and 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. So that brings it to 54% man-made fiber, or plastic, basically. And machine wash, lay flat to dry. That's the instructions. I actually think I knit this a little bit tighter than my second version, even though this says DK weight. So is that right? I wonder if Remix, I'm gonna put in the show notes, and let me check. Let's see, I have it here. It says Remix Light, made in France, and knitting gauge, it says 5 size needles, 5.5 stitches to the inch. Actually, that's pretty accurate. So maybe when I said DK, I was looking at the Remix and not the Remix Light, but I'll put it in my show notes, and everything I say will be mentioned. Everything I refer to, I will have a link to down below, so I'll clarify that. But I did checked the gauge on both these two sweaters, and the first one was 5 stitches to the inch, and this one was more like 5.5, which is exactly what it says on this ball band. So I looked on Ravelry for the comments on this one. Some generally very, very positive. A lot of people like this. I think a lot of people love that it's recycled. And a few people said it loses shape but regains it if you throw it in the dryer. Somebody else said it was getting bigger. I felt overall that it was, the yarn lacks really any structure. It's real nice. To me, it's soft. Some people complained that it wasn't soft. Other people said it was really, really soft. Oh boy. Yeah. So it's all in the eye of in the hands of the beholder, I guess. But again, the nice yoke. And this one, I did not do the split hem. I just did this. So anyway, I'm sure I added stitches at the bottom towards the end to increase the size, and I think I did a size 2 on both of these. It just was one of the easiest things I've ever done. I really, if you're looking for an easy pattern, it's not thrilling, but it is simple and easy. And if you had some nice yarn to work with, I'm just sure you would be happy. You can see it has quite a open neck, and in this heat, who would want anything else really? So it's a very nice pattern. Let me see, there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, somebody in my comments, now I must have mentioned remix for some reason earlier in an earlier podcast, and somebody asked me if I would recommend the yarn for a man's sweater, and I answered that I felt that the yarn is completely lacking in any structure. It would be great for a shawl. I think it works for this top, but it's quite it's quite limp, actually. I just can't explain it. It doesn't have any, it's just, I think a shawl, very drapey. So I don't know if I'd use it again. It seems to be fine until it gets pretty warm. Again, I probably wouldn't be wearing it as I get up into the 90s. We've historically always had pretty mild summers, and they've gotten hotter and hotter over the years. But when I first came to Oregon in the 70s, sometimes you wouldn't even have summer, and we'd be very upset about that. Now we're complaining about the heat, but we don't have anything like some parts of the United States. So it's always been really very, very nice in the summer here in the valley, in the western part of the state. If you go over to the eastern part, you'd get desert and some pretty hot weather. Okay, I don't know if one thing I just wanted to mention, just generally on the issue of recycling, it's only 5% of all plastics were recycled in 2021. It's just, I think it's very hard to do. One problem is plastics, not fibers. I don't really know. I couldn't really find too much. I'm hoping to learn a little bit more about recycled fibers. But in terms of yogurt containers and a lot of the plastics we put food, they sell food in, a lot of the plastics have different components, and that's what makes it so challenging for them to recycle. It's also expensive to recycle. You can only do it a couple times, whereas metal and glass can be recycled infinitely, apparently. So recycling, at least so far, is not any kind of solution to the huge amount of plastics we have in the world that won't be biodegrading in our lifetime. So it's really not, right now at least, it's not the solution. Apparently, even doing it is takes a lot of energy to do it. So far at least, not great in terms of that kind of recycling. But I don't know anything about recycling fiber. I love the idea of it, but you are going to get the qualities of the fibers you use. So I am aware it because of the linen and silk and cotton, it does probably, it does probably create this a little bit nicer feel than I would have from polyester. But if I had my choice and someone was offering me linen, maybe a nice linen cotton blend, or some other kind of blend with natural fibers, I would always reach for that, I think. So it was definitely worth checking out, and I have so much left. I think I have a skein and a half. It's 432 yards in the ball, and I think, I definitely have enough to make a light summer shawl, so that's a possibility. So we'll see if I ever get to that. Okay, I think that has covered my past projects. Great project, interesting yarns I worked with, and you really couldn't go wrong with this. The other thing I've been doing is I've done a little bit of mending and alterations. So one thing I did recently is I have some tops that are very lightweight cotton ready-made tops and they came with maybe 3/4 length sleeves, but they're such light tops that I thought I'm going to use them only when it's super warm out. And I decided to what I ended up doing on 2 of my shirts was to cut the sleeves, and I hand stitched a hem and made those 2 tops way more wearable to me in the summer. So I'm looking at my wardrobe and considering, is there some reason I'm not wearing this garment, and what could I do to it to make it more useful? And so that worked for those 2. I also have this little top here that I pulled out because at the end of last summer, this was originally a kind of a duster. It had an opening with buttons and buttonholes, and it had 3/4 length sleeves. And I found that I really liked it. It has a little bit too much green in there for me. I don't know if you can see it. But I was trying to figure out why I wasn't wearing it. And it's flax, which is a really nice brand, at least in terms of the fabric. I don't really know too much about it. And 100% linen. And so I really treasure the linen. So what happened is when I buttoned it, it kind of gaped right here. So it was definitely just on the edge of fitting me. Probably gained a little bit of weight before, since I bought it. So what I ended up doing was I seamed up the placket, so it's not an opening anymore, And I think I did it by hand, actually. I just sewed down there by hand to sew it together. And then I cut the sleeves off and made short sleeves. And it's kind of a tunic. And I love this. I love the tunic look. In the winter, I have several tops that are tunics, and I wear them with leggings, and I really should do more of that because I really do like the tunic look. With knitting, that means double your knitting, almost, doesn't it? So I'd like to make some more sweaters that would be tunic length, but I really need to do it with some heavier yarn, so I'm not doing that on size 4 needles because it just takes forever. But it's so useful, so comfortable. So anyway, it might give you some ideas if you're looking through your wardrobe. Maybe there's something you can change around and make more useful to yourself. And then another thing I did is I have this old gardening shirt, and I bought this shirt years and years ago at a thrift store. It's not ironed, and it is it wasn't originally a garden shirt, but does it say what it is? I don't think I can find the I can't. Oh, here it is. It says half cotton, half Ramie. So I'm actually not sure what Ramie is. I'll put down in the show notes when I discover it. I think, boy, I thought it was viscose, but I'm not sure. At any rate, it feels very comfy, and I think it has a stain on it, and again, a real tunic length. And one reason I like to wear it in the garden is a lot of my garden is in the front yard, and when I'm gardening, if I wear certain t-shirts, I just find that I might be too exposed one end or another. And this is a long shirt, and I just love it. But I have found that if you hang up your shirts on a hook, you will sometimes get holes. So I had a hole up here near the top, and I patched it with some cotton in my little pile of leftover fabric. And then I had a hole over here, which probably was from while I was pruning roses or something, and I put another patch up. And since it's a gardening shirt anyway, I could see patching this for a very long time. And it's just nice. I just love having something like this. And even though it's just the garden, I'd rather wear something I really like, favorite color. So anyway, that's my mending and alterations, and maybe it'll give you some ideas. So I'm going to pause for a minute. Another thing that I want to tell you about is a wonderful thing that came my way. So I've talked to you before about my son's mother-in-law, Barb, who makes the beautiful earrings. I've worn a pair of her. I have one pair I wear all the time, and here's another pair that's kind of fun. And I put a link to her Etsy shop, and some of you bought her earrings, which was great. Well, she got in touch with me a number of months ago, and said that she was cleaning out and she found some wool that she had, some yarn that she had. So she, like many of us who do crafts, she, at one point in her life, she lives on some acreage, and at one point in her life, she and her husband were raising sheep, and she was weaving and spinning, and she raised Lincoln long wool sheep and Columbia breed, and I don't know if she raised the merino, but she had some fleece, or she had some wool that's merino. So she asked me if I was interested in this yarn that she had spun so many years ago, and she was wondering if I would be interested in having it, and maybe I could use some of it to knit something for our mutual granddaughter, Ellie. And of course, I was very, very interested, and I ended up getting over a period of weeks, I had 2 huge packages. And I don't know about you, but is there anything that is such an endorphin rush as getting wool in the mail? Oh my gosh. I just had this enormous package from her 2 different times, big, huge packages. And this is what she sent. So, oh my gosh, I've had a grand old time going through my Fleece and Fiber Sourcebook and looking at the yarn. And I've only swatched one of them, but I have really been thinking of how I might use this yarn, and it would be, if I could make some things for Ellie, it would be a collaboration between the 2 grandmothers for our granddaughter, which I just think is lovely. So I just want to show you some of these. I'm still pondering how to use it. Not all of it is going to be immediately workable for a baby, but I'm thinking about how to use it. So this is now when the neighbors have decided to start their mowing. And I'm going to keep going and see later. This might be a trial run. We'll see. So the first one she sent was this. Now you can see that all of her dyes are gorgeous. This is a Columbia breed. And there was a long interlude while I waited not very patiently for my neighbor's mow, blow, and go guy to go. It was making so much racket. And in the other direction, the neighbors had been doing a lot of remodeling. So I feel like I'm trying to squeeze in here between their little activities. Okay, I believe I was showing you Barb's gift to me of the yarns, and this was the Columbia yarn. And so I looked up all of these in Fleece and Fiber. This one, it describes the yarn as versatile and lofty. It doesn't have a whole lot of luster, which is no problem with it at all, but I mention it just because it'll contrast with the other yarn I have that she sent me. But I did do a swatch for this one, and this is hand spun yarn, and well, Barb can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she spun it all, and it's not it's not like super soft, but definitely very possible as a cardigan, I think. And for a little one, I would probably do, find some softer yarn to maybe line the neck. I think it would be great as, um, as a cardigan maybe. And it could be a hat with some lining. Really, I just love the colors, and I know that the parents of little Ellie like this also. And I think there was a white that came with this, so it could even be color work. And I didn't measure the stitches to the inch, but I think it's more of a kind of between a DK and a worsted weight, and but maybe more of a worsted weight. Anyway, thrilling, just great. These beautiful, beautiful colors here are, look at these gorgeous colors. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at that. That is just this. Actually, no, that's merino. Don't look at that one. But there's lots of these different shades that I could wouldn't that be fabulous? Oh my gosh. So this yarn that I'm showing you here, I don't know if you can see, the light's probably, you might be able to see it more on the white one. This is a very, very lustrous, silky looking yarn. This is the Lincoln Long Wool, and it's one of the very biggest breeds of sheep, biggest in the sense of mass. It's tall and weighs a lot. So it might be one of the biggest in the of all of them, but if not, definitely one of the biggest of the sheep. It creates large fleeces. Fleece and Fiber says for sturdiness, length of fiber, large fleece, this is hard to beat. Traditionally, and they have they have heavy, long, lustrous fiber. They describe the yarn as tough, shining, and abundant. And now, my feeling is that this is pretty prickly and coarse, and it's not going to go, I just don't see it for a baby. Although I'm going to fiddle around with it. I'm going to do some swatches and see what I think. I'm just so blown away by the colors. Who knew that my son would have a mother-in-law who could do this? Isn't this gorgeous? Oh. And there's a lot of it. Look at this volume. I hope you can see how shiny it is. It's just so lustrous. And, okay, that's the Columbia. I'm not so sure about this one. I'm pretty sure this is the long wool, the Lincoln as well. And just because it has such a unique feel to it, it's like if I didn't know from Barb and also from researching it, I would think that this had some silk in it, just because I've just never seen wool be so shiny. Anyway, the suggestion from Fleece and Fiber is that it's usually used for upholstery and weaving, and I believe Barb was using it for weaving, and it says make a bag that will never wear out, you know. So I am, here's another gorgeous one. So I am going to be pondering what to do with the Lincoln. I love the colors. Those are just such fine colors. But I think what I'm going to do to start with is she also sent me this. This is Merino Wool. And then look at this. It's so white, it's just like blowing out practically. So I think what I'll do is I will, the first thing I make for our little tiny granddaughter is I will make something out of the merino. So I would love to make a beautiful colorwork cardigan for her out of that. I'm having a little bit of trouble finding color work for bulky weight yarn. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I have thought about possibly doing some striping so I could get plenty of the colors in there, especially maybe in a yoke. And that way I wouldn't increase the bulk. But I haven't swatched with it yet. But I am definitely thinking this is bulky weight. So it's very soft. We all know merino, and it's just great. So how do you like that gift I was given? Isn't this amazing? I think I'll be thinking about it. I'm going to start doing a little bit of swatching, but it'll probably be winter before I settle on a pattern and start knitting up something for Ellie. And this I am going to think about. I don't know if it'll be a garment. I could definitely imagine other things I could make from it. There's a backpack pattern. I can't remember if I've talked about it before, but there's a backpack pattern from Wool and Pine. They're the, I don't know if it's a group of designers or one designer, but they came out with the sea glass sweater, which is that wonderful use of scraps that you can, you know, many colors you can use in that sweater. So I think I mentioned that before. But the backpack, you knit the backpack, so it's like you knit a bag, and then you make cords to make it a backpack, and then there's a lot of weaving in of different colors to create kind of a bohemian look to the backpack, but it doesn't require color work. So if you don't, or if you haven't tried color work, this would be a way to get a lot of color into a project. And this would be fantastic for something like that. So that's an idea. I also thought doing a rug or some other types of things that I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't rule out a garment. And Barb said I don't have to make it all for Ellie, so I don't know. I could imagine wearing something out of this potentially for outerwear. So anyway, thank you, Barb. I know you watch a lot of these, and I'm so grateful to you for sending it my way, and I know she was happy to clean out since she's really into jewelry right now and is no longer doing the fiber. So anyway, my blessing for her change. Anyway, okay, I can't believe I didn't think I had anything to talk about, and here I am. So I don't have too much more to say. In the knitting, I have so many ideas for new projects. But at the moment, I'm just plugging away on mine that I have going, and maybe in the next couple weeks, I'll start thinking about what I'll cast on next. But my favorites in Ravelry keeps getting bigger and bigger. One of the things I'll mention is the, I think Hohi Locatelli has a new sweater, and I think she calls it the Fade and Boxy. Anyway, it's both a fade and a boxy, and it intersperses some striping of some solids with sections of a mohair lace that is just fabulous. But it's boxy, which means, and so it's cut wider, you know, it comes off wider than the body, and has a drop sleeve, so you are knitting much wider than your body, which means you're knitting a lot. And I think it's not on big yarn, so it definitely, you know, it's a project, but it would be gorgeous. And she did it in these really soft, wonderful colors, and it's just great. So that's an idea. And then I have some other pattern. I have my Strom cardigan I want to start. I have all the yarn ready to go, and I'd love to start knitting on wool right now, because that's where my heart is really. But right now I'm still using my cotton wool blend, and it'll be nice to return to the more forgiving wool. Let's see, in terms of, I don't know if you've discovered it, but there's kind of a fun PBS masterpiece show called Hotel Portofino. If you have any love for Italy or would like to go to Italy, or if you may never go to Italy but would like to look at beautiful pictures of it, this is really a fun show to watch. My husband is watching it with me, and he says it seems like a soap opera, and it probably is, but it's kind of it's not that different from Downton Abbey in the sense of there's lots of characters and lots of different plots and subplots and everything, but it takes place in Italy in, I think it's the 30s, actually. It's post-World War II. It's post-World War I, and it's in Italy when fascists were on the rise, and this British woman has come to Italy with her family to start a hotel in a just gorgeous part of the world, but has to deal with many issues, including a difficult husband and a local fascist leader who is causing her problems. And I believe that a lot of the filming is taking place in Croatia, but I'm not sure if those scenes that you're seeing of the hotel itself are actually Italy or not. But whatever the case, it's stunningly beautiful with all the gorgeous color, and it's on the ocean and just lovely. So that's a nice escape, and I am looking for escape right now. I just finished a book called Deacon King Kong by James McBride. and I really loved it. James McBride came to my attention when he wrote his memoir called The Color of Water. And that was about his mother, and he's a black man in the United States with and came from a big family, and his mother had a secret about his heritage. His mother's white and had a secret about his heritage, and that's what the story's about. I just love that. And Deacon King Kong is oh my gosh, now I'm not sure where the story takes place, but it's not current day. I think it goes back to the 60s, and it's a neighborhood that's it's like a neighborhood that has a wonderful community, but also is struggling with drug dealers and that kind of thing. But oh, that sounded gloomy when I read it on the cover, but it also has these characters that are absolutely charming. So it took me maybe 20 pages to get sold on the characters, and then I was. There's a main character who they call Sport Coat, and that is Deacon. He's a deacon in a church, and they call him King Kong because King Kong is the name of a homemade alcoholic drink that he drinks too much of. But anyway, he's a delightful character, and there's some other characters that are charming. So despite the unlikely and perhaps difficult, gloomy situation, the characters are absolutely lovable. But also, it's some very sad things too. Right now, so I love the book and recommend it, actually. I am now taking a break from anything serious, and I went to a bookstore recently that has a lot of remaindered books. So they're new but not full price, and I came home with a stack of 5 books, and they all look fairly light. And I'm imagining sitting on my front porch when I get tired of knitting and reading some of those and enjoying that. One of them I started, and I have to say I bought the book yesterday, and I am at least a third of the way into it, so it's a super quick read. It's called Dear Mr. Darcy. So it's the story of Pride and Prejudice told in letters from all the characters. So all the characters in Pride and Prejudice are writing letters to other characters in the book, and a few people not in the book, so you can see what they're thinking and feeling behind the story of Pride and Prejudice. So it's a very quick read, but it's nicely written. It's not, I just can't stand it if somebody can't write, but she can write. Her name is, I think, oh dear, I will put the link below. It might be Amanda Grange, and she's written quite a few takeoffs on Jane Austen's books. So at least once a year I read some Jane Austen. And one of my favorite books is Persuasion. It's the shortest of her, well, it's not the shortest. I think Northanger Abbey is shorter, but Persuasion, Northanger Abbey is more of a Gothic novel, but Persuasion, I think, was her last novel, and I love it. And apparently they have made a new movie out of it, which I always welcome. But I'm a little worried that the way they're portraying the main character is just not going to fit with how I see the book. So anyway, we'll see. I'm into some of the new adaptations. I loved Clueless, which is a adaptation of Emma. And of course, she's totally different from Emma in some obvious ways, but also in some very similar ways is Emma to a T. So anyway, that's the kind of reading I'm into right at the moment. We are heading into the hot months, and that's what I'm leaning toward right now. Okay, I am going to say goodbye to you. I hope you're having a wonderful summer and maybe getting a little knitting in. And if you have any ideas for bulky weight patterns for me, or any reading that you'd like to recommend, I would love to hear about it. So take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.